He can strike like lightning.
It's going to be interesting to see who has the advantage. Oh, big left hand. That's it. Wow.
He can grapple like a bear.
Oh my goodness.
Islam Makhachev.
Wow.
He is Islam Makhachev.
And you gonna be champion.
Islam Makhachev.
Long dismissed as an overrated Khabib wannabe, the combat sambo world champion is steadily forging his way towards greatness by taking out GOAT-level guys like Charles Oliveira and Alex Volkanovski. Though his path has been fraught with challenges, now that Makhachev sits at the top of the UFC lightweight food chain, he aspires to assert his dominance over his territory with an iron fist. The question is, can he defend it against a seasoned fighter like Dustin Poirier? Born and raised in Mahashkala, Dagestan, Islam Makhachev grew up in a modest home, with his father working as a driver and his mother running a small cafe. Just like the rest of the kids in the mountainous region, Makhachev began his combat sports journey in Taekwondo at the age of 7. A few years later, the Dagestani transitioned to freestyle wrestling before embracing MMA under Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov's guidance. Makhachev started his MMA journey in 2010, winning his first fight by decision before ending his second pro bout in only 30 seconds. In his M1 debut in 2011, Makhachev faced Tengiz Hucha. Only 25 seconds in, his opponent dared to go for a takedown. Being the sambo world champion that he is, Makhachev sprawled and then unleashed a barrage of punches that ended the fight in an instant. A few months later, Makhachev continued his winning ways when he faced Matiros Grigorian. The Russian fighter drew first blood with a straight left that led to a clinch battle between the two. Soon, Makhachev took the fight to his world. Grigorian failed to get out of the claws of the sambo master, but luckily, the two were forced to stand up due to the lack of activity. Ironically, Grigorian had more safety on the mat since he was cracked with a flurry as soon as the fight resumed on the feet. A few seconds later, Makhachev dropped Grigorian with a big head kick before swarming his opponent and finishing the job with a ground and pound. The Dagestani sealed a successful 2011 with 3 more victories, most notably against Magomed Ibragimov. Slowly but surely, Makhachev kept racking up victories and putting his name on the MMA map. As he moved up the ladder, Makhachev's competition got tougher, and in his 7th professional fight, the Dagestani fought Anatoly Kormilkin. Makhachev started the fight patiently, but then came forward with a flurry that led to a takedown. Within seconds, the Dagestani secured a crucifix and pummeled his foe. Once he was done punching his opponent's face in, the nasty Russian locked in a mounted triangle and slept him. Kormilkin was seen puking blood after Makhachev let go of him. The Sambo Master's reign of terror in Russia continued for a couple more years and 4 more fights, with his most notable win coming against Yuri Ivlev. The Dagestani started the fight in a typical fashion, initiating a clinch after a flurry of punches. Yuri was resilient and he refused to go down, at least for a few seconds. But Makhachev eventually secured a takedown a minute into the fight. He then mounted his foe and served him the humble pie with vicious ground and pound. Ultimately, Makhachev decided to put his opponent out of his misery with an armbar.
Wow, made Yuri Ivlev look like a beginner. What a fantastic finish. Islam Makhachev!
With another victory, Makhachev had 11 wins in as many fights. So, the UFC came calling, with major thanks to Islam's bestie Khabib, who was smashing everyone in the UFC lightweight division. Makhachev made his UFC debut at UFC 187 in the summer of 2015, facing Leo Kuntz, who ate an overhand right as soon as the fight started. Kuntz fired back with a straight right, which forced Islam to go back to the basics. The Sambo world champion then initiated a clinch and executed a beautiful judo throw, immediately mounting his opponent's back and dominating him. The finish came at 2 minutes and 38 seconds of the second round.
Debut for the Russian.
Combat sambo, and an excellent debut for Islam Makhachev.
Makhachev couldn't have asked for a better start, but then the unthinkable happened against Adriano Martins, who made the Dagestani pay for his reckless striking.
Oh! Big shot by Martins. It is on.
Following his first career loss, Makhachev changed his strategy and became far more patient, to the extent that after his decision victories over Nick Lentz and Chris Wade, he garnered a reputation for being boring. But just when he thought he was nothing more than a lay-and-pray grappler, Makhachev put his power and precision on display against a former foe of Khabib in the shape of Gleison Tibau. Makhachev started the fight by patiently circling away from the Brazilian's power and waiting for the right opportunity to pounce on him. And once he pounced, it was all over.
Out of nowhere, I was about to...
Islam Makhachev.
The victory was a major confidence booster for the Russian star, and immediately demanded someone in the lightweight top 15.
Now I'm very happy. You see, last three my opponent, not top opponent, this tough opponent. I'm ready for top 15. Give me please top 15 guys.
Unfortunately, the UFC didn't oblige and Makhachev ended up fighting unranked opponents a few more times. The reason Islam struggled to secure fights against ranked opponents was straightforward. Nobody was willing to step into the octagon with him, and for valid reasons. I mean, who would want to enter the lion's den?
Do you think that's because they're scared of you?
Yes, of course. I think they're just scared.
Unlike ranked fighters, the unranked dudes were willing to take their chances against the most intimidating lightweight in the world, hoping to secure an upset victory that would propel them up the ladder, while every other unranked guy was a stroll in the park for the Dagestani. One guy in particular impressed fight fans with his valiant effort, and his name was Arman Tsarukyan. The two wrestling aces competed at a UFC fight night in April 2019, when Makhachev was expected to win comfortably. But many were pleasantly surprised to witness how wrong they were. The first takedown was a real struggle, but Makhachev still secured it beautifully. Tsarukyan popped right back up every time he was taken down, and even turned the Uno reversal on by taking Makhachev's back. The second round was way more entertaining as Tsarukyan started by defending a takedown and then landing an elbow on the break. The remainder of the round was full of entertaining grappling and clinch exchanges between the two. Tsarukyan came out swinging on round 3, but Makhachev would soon secure a takedown on a tired Tsarukyan and control him for the rest of the round. Following a hard-fought battle, Makhachev was declared the winner by unanimous decision.
I'm not stealing that one. What a fight. Islam Makhachev.
5 months later, Makhachev fought Davey Ramos at UFC 242, a card headlined by his best friend Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier. While Khabib was the highlight of the event, Makhachev had a lot to prove, and so he did. Makhachev was sharp in the first round with 1-2s, and he kept his foot on the gas with the jabs and body shots. Islam continued to outstrike his opponent in round 2. Early in the third round, Makhachev cracked Ramos with a big knee in the clinch and then swarmed with punches and bunches. Ramos somehow managed to survive but was dominated on the mat for the remainder of the round. After a dominant showing, Makhachev was declared the winner by a comfortable decision. Following his win, Makhachev called out the winner of Paul Felder versus Edson Barboza.
Who win? Barboza or Felder? I am ready.
Felder went on to beat Barboza on the main card at UFC 242, but didn't fight Makhachev. Instead, Drew Dober stepped in for the opportunity of a lifetime. This was Makhachev's first fight against a ranked opponent, and the heavy-hitting lightweight was a serious threat due to his power. Throughout the first fight, the Dagestani relentlessly pursued takedowns and submissions, but Dober held his own for longer than expected. It wasn't until the third round that Makhachev finally secured an arm triangle choke from half guard and squeezed until his opponent gave up.
Arm triangle, Islam Makhachev.
Makhachev once again called out a ranked opponent, but he didn't get his wish again. What he did get was a chance to headline a UFC fight night against Diego Moises in the summer of 2021. Moises, a grappling ace, was expected to give Makhachev some trouble, but it wasn't to be. In the first round, Makhachev had a slow start on the feet, but he ended the round strongly with a takedown. In the second round, the Tlaxcala native was all over his opponent thanks to his world-class wrestling. The third one was once again very much the same as Moises failed to produce anything. The finish came in the fourth round, with Islam submitting his foe with a rear naked choke.
And on top, once you might want to sidestep that.
Following his win over Moises, Makhachev finally had his wish of fighting a top-rate contender granted. Initially, he was supposed to face Rafael dos Anjos, but after the Brazilian pulled out due to injury, Dan Hooker stepped in on short notice to face the scary Dagestani. Needless to say, it was a bad idea. Makhachev wasted no time in taking the fight to the mat. For nearly 2 minutes, Makhachev smothered Hooker before ultimately locking in a Kimura and ending the fight within seconds. It was as dominant as a performance could have been, and that too, against a very credible opponent.
Russia, Islam Makhachev!
Great contenders, Makhachev didn't want them anymore. He wanted the ultimate prize.
Brother, now it's time. Before it was like top 11, top 15 somewhat, but this guy number 6. How many fight? 9? 9 fight win streak. I'm ready for title fight.
Makhachev certainly deserved a title shot by then, but so did Beneil Dariush, and the two were naturally booked to battle in a title eliminator. The UFC did exactly that. However, Dariush pulled out of the fight due to an injury, and in came Bobby Green. Makhachev was relentless once again, dominating Bobby Green and finishing him off with a ground and pound TKO. After his win over Green, Makhachev finally reaped the fruits of his hard work in the shape of a vacant lightweight title fight against Charles Oliveira at UFC 280. Tempers were high pre-fight, as both men engaged in a war of words pre-fight. In the cage, however, Makhachev was the one who did most of the talking. He secured takedowns, gained ground control, and even teed off with the ground and pound in the first round. Round 2 was fought on the feet, with Oliveira pressing Makhachev but running into counters. Midway through the second, Makhachev dropped Oliveira with a big right hand. He followed up, locked in an arm triangle, and it was all over. The champion had a name, and it was
Islam Makhachev!
Winning a belt is certainly tough, but defending it is a completely different thing altogether, especially when you have a long list of killers waiting for you, some of whom aren't even in your division. Makhachev's first title defense came against UFC featherweight champion Alex Volkanovski in enemy territory. The fight was a technical chess match where Makhachev drew first blood by rocking the Aussie. Makhachev then controlled him for the remainder of the round with his wrestling. The reigning champ clipped Volkanovski again in round 2, but the challenger had his moments too. Volkanovski was sharper in round 3, whereas Islam delivered some stinging shots as well. Round 4 was back and forth, until Makhachev scored a perfectly timed takedown and controlled the round from there on. The biggest moment of the fight, however, was produced by Volkanovski, who dropped Makhachev with a big right hand late in the 5th round. Makhachev managed to survive the final bell, but only just. At the end of 5 rounds, the Dagestani won by a controversial decision. Despite the result, there were no harsh feelings between the two, with Volkanovski going so far as offering him a rematch in Abu Dhabi, the home away from home for Khabib, Islam, and team.
Make a rematch happen?
Ready? Yes, why not?
Everyone here?
Abu Dhabi.
Call him Mystic Volk if you may. The Aussie got his Dubai rematch when Charles Oliveira pulled out of his second fight against Makhachev at UFC 294. The great Volk entered the fight on 12 days' notice and, unfortunately, was underprepared for the kind of performance that was needed. Makhachev was better prepared this time around. He set Volkanovski up with body kicks and then blasted him with a head kick to finish the job in 3 minutes. It was a performance of a lifetime from the Dagestani, one that added another glorious chapter to his story of greatness. Islam Makhachev is a truly remarkable athlete. Thanks to his undeniable skills in wrestling, submission grappling, incredibly improved striking, and a fighting IQ that is off the charts. The question is, will he continue his winning ways against Dustin Poirier and ultimately go down as the greatest lightweight of all time when all is said and done? We'll leave that for you guys to decide. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications.